All set, whenever you are.
We don't see anything on the screen. Should we see some?
Not seeing anything on the screen?
No, is the owl on?
Yeah, well, it's, I set it up early, the TV must have timed itself out. Yeah, it's
I
off.
don't feel, yeah, I don't.
I set it
it's
up.
On the owl, I don't.
No, the hour's working, I just set this up about a half an hour ago because it wasn't seeing anything from the computer, it turned itself off.
I can see you guys just fine, just so you know.
All right.
There you go.
So we're live now.
We're live.
Okay, let's have the pledge. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America.
The republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The village of New Paltz humbly acknowledges that we are on the traditional lands of the Munsee, the Sopans, and the Lambay people. The Indian Removal Act of 1834 relocate to inhospitable territory far from this bountiful valley and mountains we inhabit today. The village further acknowledges that much of the physical structure of our village and town was built by enslaved Africans who labored as the property of their owners until 1827 on this very land. We acknowledge and honor the contributions, resilience, and accomplishments of the BIPOC community, that's Black, Indigenous, and people of color, who have overcome historic injustice to inform our past and inspire our future. The Village of New Paltz encourages everyone to learn more about the contributions and sacrifices made by the Indigenous people and enslaved Africans by visiting the sites that we have listed on all of our agendas and minutes, and they're also on our website. If you have any resources that you believe should be included, here to contact us and we will act them.
Okay, that's it as far as adding to this agenda, so I'm gonna move to the announcements, just that we have on April 29th, the local government efficiency planning meeting that will take place on Tuesday, 29th at 7 p.m. here at Village Hall. It's regarding the information session that we're going to have hosted by the consultant from the LaBerge Group in terms of the plans being developed regarding the project dissolution. And I need to add an item to the consent agenda. Approval of a request from SUNY New Paltz to put up no parking signs on the streets adjacent to the graduation ceremony for May 16th, 17th, and 18th. We have a letter from SUNY New Paltz making this request. This is an annual thing. So I'm gonna, well, I'm sorry.
Did you have a couple to add on the business agenda? Yes.
Now I wanted to just make the consent, I'm gonna move that we adopt the consent with this addition.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And then in terms of the business agenda, we have the addition of the proposed public hearing regarding the annexation for local apartments and naming of the design review board. That would be item number 4. And that is it as far as this agenda. Well, also I have an agenda item number 8 regarding the solar project at the fire station. And that's it as far as additions to the business agenda. I move that we adopt the business agenda as amended.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Yeah, any other announcements from the board?
I have a couple. One is, as always, our free food fridge is open here at 25 Plattekill Avenue, 24/7. If you can donate some food, please do. If you need some food, please come get some. Also, Family of New Paltz, if you want to help your neighbors, they're the #1 local agency that helps people in need in all kinds of ways. They're particularly always in need of feminine hygiene products and personal care items, food, clothing that is appropriate for the season in excellent condition, et cetera, et cetera. And they have a couple of events coming up. One is
tomorrow at 5:30 PM at Family of New Paltz, which is 51 North Chestnut Street. It's a budget and emergency fund seminar. Take control of your finances. Join us for an engaging seminar on smart budgeting and building a strong emergency fund to achieve financial stability. And then every Tuesday from 10 AM to 11:30 AM, also at 51 North Chestnut Street at Family of New Paltz. Basic computer skills for seniors, and they're saying 55 and over is senior for this. And they're offering free one-on-one computer classes to help people learn basic uses of computers, any general questions and answers you might have. And you ask them to bring your own device, or you can use one of their computers. So just basic computer skills, email, online communication, internet browsing, online safety and security, all kinds of things related to that. Also, tomorrow at 11 AM is conversations with the police, which will be at the police station on North Pike. As I said, 11 AM tomorrow, Thursday, April 24th. And did you want to do that other one, Bill, or do you want me to do it? Yeah, go ahead.
Just an announcement that this Saturday from 11 to 4, there will be a celebration of our Earth. Our Earth Day fair will take place there. You'll get all the facts on, according to this, composting, electric vehicles, community solar installation, and plenty of topics related to preserving our Earth. So that's once again this Saturday, 11 to 4 PM, and it's a rain or shine event, and it's free. So, see you there.
And there's gonna be a county waste truck there for you to check out.
That's right. And one of them, you had some electric buses.
Right.
That's all I got.
Okay, then that's it for announcements from the village board, so then I'm gonna move to public comment. Anyone here in person interested in making a public comment? Feel free to just state your name and you can come closer
So
if
we
you
can
would
definitely
like.
get your voice on the. Yeah.
Sorry, it just takes a minute for this to turn on.
Sure.
Pull it up. Hi, yeah, it's hard with this thing I got.
Whatever works for you, whatever's comfortable.
My name is Kate, and I think you and I emailed Mayor Rogers. I have a very hard time getting around New Paltz. The sidewalks are so difficult. Really difficult. So I came here today to ask that something's done. My experience with the New Paltz sidewalks is mostly South Manheim, Plattekill, and Main Street. There's like the 3 roads I've mainly been on. And I could never go by myself. Now my sister, for instance, has to like get me over some of those major gorges. And the worst part is crossing the street. There's often like the sidewalks the slope is terrible and you get like dropped
The
off.
cross slope, right,
Yeah,
yeah, to be
they're the
compliant, cross slopes have to be 2 degrees or less, which is basically unheard of. You know, most cross slopes are out of compliance.
Most of New Paltz are out of compliance.
Yeah, and even when new cross slopes are constructed, they often get a different look because of the uniqueness of geography, and they allow them to be built where they're not. Yeah, the only time that they're probably compliant is when they're constructed on a completely flat surface.
Well, everything around the university is perfect. What they've done, I mean, the slopes are just, and they held through the winter, they didn't fall apart. Through the winter, New Paltz every year it gets worse and worse and worse, the streets, they just, you know, I don't.
We actually copied the college's design because of the way that they approach sidewalk construction. And I've asked the New York State DOT to allow us to do that on their state highways, and they have said no. And I said, that's super curious, because the advantage of doing that way is it's less expensive because you're using blacktop instead of concrete. And the challenge with all sidewalks at this point is it's so astronomically expensive to construct new sidewalks. So we like rub nickels together to do projects. And if we're lucky enough, like for instance, we did a new sidewalk project on Prospect Street. And it was probably the first sidewalk project that was done in a very long time. We have a few other sidewalk projects, one that's being done on the northern section of Prospect above Slate. We have another one that's being planned for this spring, summertime at the corner of Church and Henry W, both on the north and south side of Henry W. And we also have a new section on the Huguenot Street in front of the monument and we go south below where the cemetery is, where the church is. And then another big sidewalk project that we're working on is with the DOT, and that involves improving the ramps and several of the intersections. And they gave us a list, and I worked with them a couple of years ago, and I begged and pleaded to add a few more sections to it, and they actually took some of our suggestions and made the project a little bit wider. That project was recently bid by the DOT, and they said that the construction prices that they received from contractors who bid on it were 80% greater than their probable cost estimates. So that's the world that's so bananas that we're living in right now. So all we do is like we beg the DOT to address the sidewalks on there, you know, because what's unique about New Paltz is a lot of our important thoroughfares are state highways. So we're constantly begging them to address that their state highways need to have walkable sidewalks. So like if you're looking at Manheim, which is 32 South, that's a New York State highway. Same thing with 299, it's a New York State highway, North and South Chestnut, it's a New York State highway. So those are the sections that will be included in a lot of the work. Even, you know, it's a really curious section that's their responsibility and they're adding to it is pieces of North Front Street. You know, that's where the bakery is, and it goes from North Front Street, the truck corridor 432, like instead of going down Main Street and making that left in front of the Lowwoods, you're supposed to go down North Front Street, so it's a DOT street. So this is a giant part of what we do is begging and pleading to get money. And I can share that the folks at the Ulster County Transportation Council are very accommodating when they have extra money. And you know, I'm complaining and moaning about how expensive it is to do any of these projects, you know, they'll find little extra money for us, and that's how we're getting some of this stuff done. But we hear you loud and clear. I mean, I've
I know.
on a couple of different occasions walked our village with individuals in wheelchairs to actually see what it feels like from their perspective.
It's not comfortable.
I'm so sorry. I wish we could like just fix it. There's so much with DOT and all these other things and the prices and it's not okay, and I apologize.
It's pretty bad. And I even heard from people that can walk, that they find the sidewalks dangerous and people sprain their ankles and, you know, so it's a big problem, but I hear that you're trying to address it.
Yeah, we're doing probably more for sidewalks than any administration's done in the last 50 years, no question.
We try to get grants, we're really chasing after it to try to do it, and I'm so sorry that it's not good enough, and it's not fast enough. I wish we could do more faster.
I figured if I came in here today, it's still anything that got done would be at least a year from now anyway.
Oh, if every star lines, yeah, but it's really good to hear from you
Yes,
and to hear
absolutely.
how you know, it's like what boils my potatoes too is that Main Street is the Empire State pedestrian section, the Empire State Trail. It is the Empire State Trail pedestrian section. And, you know, so I include that in nearly every grant application that I write in terms of like, how do we make it more safe for vehicles, pedestrians, all of the above, you know, making things ADA compliant.
Cause you know, I've also noticed, I'm not gonna name any names, but you'll go up like a ramp into a restaurant or something. Like, oh my God, good, there's a ramp and you can get in this restaurant, you go in, it's like lovely, 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 great restaurant. And then you go to leave and there's like a 2-inch wall, yeah, the ramp's not on the inside of the restaurant. And I'm just like, how do these things pass? How do these pass? You know, there's gotta be some inspection for handicap compliance, right? And it's like, who's seeing this and saying, yes, they passed that inspection, so. I've seen that in like 2
I've
restaurants.
seen new construction, that gets approved by the state DOT. And I've complained to state DOT, I'm like, here you have the opportunity to make it ADA compliant, like I only learned about things like cross slopes. And that they have to be 2% or less, or, you know, I've spoken with, you know, the person who like runs like the Cornell Institute for all the highways and sidewalks, and, you know, there's other like super fascinating stuff about like bluestone sidewalks, which are totally not ADA compliant. There's no way to make them ADA compliant, and any sort of new bluestone sidewalk that's being constructed has to have, differentials in terms of width and height below certain standards, which is physically impossible to achieve with existing bluestone sidewalks. So then you're running into issues too with, you know, the bluestone sidewalk aficionados who, you know, want to pursue history and there's no way to make them ADA compliant. And that's why, you know, we chose, you know, the design that you spoke about, that the college has spoken about.
That's really good.
And that it's very good, and then that's why I found it to be so curious that the DOT wouldn't let us do that for our own sidewalk projects, because we got federal money and they have to be constructed to their standards.
Fine. We'll keep working on it, I promise.
Yeah, I hear you, I appreciate it.
But it's still not okay.
The last two
Like, there's
meetings
no
that
defense.
we were here, we
I
had
see
our
that.
grant head administrator, Mark Lauer, because we've been working with him to draft this sidewalk project that we've been working on for many years across the finish line. We hope to do it this year. But
You hope to do it this year? So
you have to do layers and layers of like, well, we need a firm that can be selected from a list of engineers that's been pre-selected by New York State. And we did that a few years ago for the same project, and their cost estimates were like hundreds of thousands of dollars. And I've been to the DOT office in Poughkeepsie, and I asked them, why do we have to do it this way? These are super low tech, like building sidewalks is low tech stuff, right? Like this is not even something that involves like below grade infrastructure below the sidewalks. And, you know, often the challenge is that this is federal money, and therefore you need the same inspection requirements that you would use if you were building something like the Tappan Zee Bridge. So you need full time inspection, and it just drives the cost up of so much stuff. So that's what we're doing here, is just like trying to do as much as we possibly can with really good resources and really strong evidence. So it's really good that you're telling us we need improvements.
I appreciate those, I can't really go do anything, it's really,
That's completely unacceptable, I'm so sorry.
thank you. So my sister will hold the back of my chair so I don't go flying.
But I don't live in New Paltz, so I came up from the city so we could take him, our cousin Renee, we came up so that we could get her here today to talk to you guys, and really appreciate that you're doing what you're doing. I have a couple of questions about ways to
Come on.
try to
Research.
So it's not just to be, I'd love to know who I can bother to help you guys make this happen. You know, because the truth is that Katie, all my sister needs is to be able to get down Manheim and down, I mean, I'm sure you guys know, like, right outside here, it's like the most dangerous sidewalk in town, like, you can't, we actually have to go into the street because the fall off is so extreme.
Because of the
Parking lot.
the ramp transition.
No, the parking lot, like the two cutaways on the sidewalk that are crossing the parking lot on Hot Hill. There's, I have pictures, you want to see, but you can also see it, but they're just really deep. So the thing for, just to make it clear, for Katie to solve her immediate problem would be to fill in some potholes and put use a little blacktop just to even out those angles at 5 different streets, like, so that she could, like, we went to,
So we're making.
so that we could go down to town and have.
Yeah, I saw the
Yeah.
pictures that you sent for
Yeah.
the sidewalk section.
And the pictures are really just.
But yeah, I know, I can feel, believe me,
I'm sure you've seen
everywhere I go, I was seeing, and this,
Oh, yeah, it's crazy
this,
there.
I was taking pictures of their sidewalks, it's like.
It does. But I'll show you in a second, but so I guess the point is, like, is there, is there somebody we can raise money from? If we get somebody to give $1 million, if it's the sidewalks, does the DOT still say no to doing it, or like?
If you had $1 million,
But
if you had $1 million,
Yes.
I could build sidewalks without jumping through DOT hoops on village streets. We
right, so you
cannot-
can't touch
we
Lee Street
can't-
or Man, right?
They would allow us to use your $1 million on near state highway, but only to their specs.
Right.
So the Prospect Street example
Yeah.
is the same spec as the
Right,
university.
that's the one that goes down,
In front of the bus station.
okay, yeah.
So that's the same spec, because we copied it, I went to the college, I got their spec, gave it to our engineer, who designed the project using their specifications.
Yeah,
I asked the DOT if we could do the same thing on,
right.
and they said no.
So is there somebody that, like, who do we start complaining to and to saying, like, this person's quality of life is being. Like, where does all the noise get?
Our state senator, Michelle, she's super responsive,
Okay.
and, she hears from
Okay.
municipalities like us about our frustration.
Yeah.
I mean, you know what's really tough about so much of this stuff is that the people on the ground in like the DOT office, the engineers, they understand it, they get it, they're problem solvers, they're themselves, but they regularly have, forms and process that are just unintuitive and layers of complication, so it's hard to have them bend rules because they're stuck with rules that are, again, it's like the example is like, you have to build something on a state highway to the same specs that you would use to build a engineeringly complicated
And
bridge.
who, I apologize I just trying to understand a little bit more, who is the person who makes that rule and who are the people who can change that rule?
I mean, it's like when I speak to college people and they talk about like the environmental crisis or, transportation crisis, I'm like, go to become an engineer and get a job at the DOT.
Okay, well, we'll take that one, guys, let's do it.
Would it help for them to write to DOT?
Yeah, I mean.
Yeah, definitely.
You send my sister the language, I'll do some research and I'll make as much noise as I can, politely making suggestions, because. I mean, because I mean, for me, the thing is, why can't somebody go out there with a bucket of, what do you call it, that car and fill in the hole?
That will go away.
It won't.
Well, it won't last.
Yes, so like, but
It's like throwing good money in a series.
so I mean, is there something to be done
The only thing that's to be done is to redo them properly.
to redo them properly? And then how long do they actually take to get done? Once they, like, when you're doing it, is it like 6 months of breaking up the sidewalk and rebuilding?
No, the project, like from signing contracts,
Yeah.
like. Couple months. Like we did Prospect.
Well, I mean.
But that was a village project, so it's easier to
Right.
get across the finish line, the state projects are much harder.
So maybe
Like-
emailing the state senator,
would it be
maybe
like?
the DOT, I mean, just to like, I feel like, might as well try, right, to shake some. I'll make it my little project to try to get some.
And if you ever wanna just walk in the village, you know, like, I've done this before with people in wheelchairs, because
Yeah.
it really is helpful for people who.
That would be
Yeah,
great.
we could ask Michelle if she wanted to do it.
That would be great.
Because
Let me show you.
you can't, like, you don't understand what it is like to be, like, that whole crosswalk, so my son who's in 10th grade now, and he used to walk to school, to the middle school. And then
It's so.
I explained little things, and then he was like calling me
You
on
can't.
this law,
Her whole thing would.
identifying
Of course.
out of compliance sidewalks, like,
Sorry.
it's like, once people know what to look for, then you look for it.
There's.
I think it's pretty obvious, but I know, like, I have ladies that work for me and help me, and I'll say, when you go to the restaurant, is it handicap accessible? And they don't remember.
Yeah.
You know, they just don't think about it. So if you're concentrating on it, then you see it's everywhere.
Well, the first picture you just showed me, I think,
Yeah.
is part of the DOT project.
It's just.
Well, the second picture you showed me is the ramp, that's not part of the DOT project.
Yeah, no, this first
The other one-
picture is just up the block here. Like,
Where?
in front of the, it's that one, it's like, I really, it's funny, because the reason we do this. The reason we first came in here is because we were trying to go down Black Hill and we were like, oh my god, this is like deadly, what do? We looked up here in front of Village Hall, let's go talk to the, and I believe you were in there, and they were very nice to us, and so we came back for this, but like, this is right outside there, and it's like, it's not, if you're walking, like I am, you just don't notice, but with these chairs, it's like being on a bicycle, when you like hit a curb and you just go over the front handlebars, it's that dangerous. So I guess, I mean, for me, all I really want is for my sister to be able to like leave her house without any of us and not get thrown out of her wheelchair. So anything I can do, people I can bug, and if you think of something, you have her email address and I'll get your email address, but like, I'm good at research
good, you're
and
bugging
I'm
us.
bugging people, I bug you as much as you want, and I'm happy to.
I mean, I'm bugging the DOT, you
Yeah.
know, it's like,
I'm happy
they
to-
have this project. That, you know, the one that I said was 80% over budget.
Yeah.
But they'll still move forward with it, but the question is, when will it happen, when will it break ground?
Mhm.
And will it be 80% over budget and will it be the best quality? Because like what's done by the university, that's built.
No, it's
to
a
last.
DOT project.
It's good.
It'll be built to last, like what's done.
It's a DOT project. That's why it's so outrageous.
So it's something that's 80% over budget needs to can't get greenlit into.
No, they'll spend.
They have to do.
So the other unique thing about that, they'll maybe do less of what's on their wish list, but they'll do some of it.
You're saying the other unique thing.
The other unique thing about the DOT is that so much of their money is from the federal government, whereas like you have other state agencies like the DEC.
Mhm.
Like, they're not beholden to, like, when you have like a state senator pushing a state agency, you have more leverage. You have less leverage when you're pushing the DOT because their funding comes from the federal government.
Okay.
Whereas like the DEC funding is from Albany.
So technically, if we.
That's just like inside baseball
Right,
stuff,
like,
which is like,
then-
it kind of explains like,
But addressing, having our congressperson,
yeah, we have a responsive congressperson
You know,
too, like talking to Pat.
Sorry, I'm the cousin of me, but I think what you're saying is, it doesn't matter, because they don't, it's a federal.
No, I don't, I
Like,
wouldn't say,
can the senator help?
yes, I wouldn't get out of bed in the morning if I thought it didn't matter.
How can the senator?
I'm just saying it's hard, and that's
right,
what we do, it just, there's no like. We can't just get things done
right,
just because they should be.
you can't just go get one of those.
The only way anything gets done is us being relentless. Like, I've learned a lot in this job in the last 10 years about how to be relentless.
Yeah.
Well, you have some support here from our family, at least I think it has to help in some way.
I really
Absolutely.
appreciate you guys coming. I really do.
Great.
I know it takes a lot to schlep over here and put yourselves out here like this, but I mean,
Well, I'm gonna reach out, do some more research and.
James, I really am.
I mean, you know what we could do is like something as
So
simple as.
I understand you wanna just, like, I really appreciate that.
It's not enough though, just my want, but
I mean, we have our sidewalk projects that we're working on. I mean, I would definitely be interested and think it could be a good use of all of our time to like invite the senator's office and the congressperson's office and be like, hey, we're doing a little walking tour. We're gonna go get coffee. You wanna come with us and experience what it's like
see if we can get
from the
some.
point of view of someone using a wheelchair.
I mean, Katie, would you be open to being that person?
Yeah, as long as it's not raining.
Yeah,
But I think that's a great way to do it, is to
Yes,
like
I want-
pitch it like, we're not doing anything crazy, we're just doing something that should be accessible.
I mean, Main Street with the blue slate, that's what it's called, the blue stone.
I mean, that those are the bricks.
Yeah.
That was a DOT project years ago.
Yeah, that
They-
Main
the state
Street
paid for
is,
that.
we made it, we went on a journey a couple of weeks ago, like we it took all day and like went all the way down.
I could show you numerous grant applications that I've written where I speak to asking money for sidewalks.
And they say no.
But-
They say no, and it's not respond.
We actually have a pretty good track record for getting grants, but.
We get grants for sewer infrastructure replacement because we're under consent order, but the problem is like nearly every community is the same.
I was gonna ask that.
It's like every community is in desperate need of new drinking water pipes, new conveyance for sewers.
1978,
sidewalk.
Yeah.
Well, many of them need that type of level of repair.
Yeah, we won't keep you long, but thank you.
But, yeah.
Of course, anyway.
I've met you someplace.
Yes, we have.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, pleasure to meet you again, and let's keep working on this, yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for your caring, your trying. I appreciate it.
I would like to reiterate or echo what Tim was saying, is that your representatives at any level need to hear your stories. Because that's what gets things going. And the more stories you have, the more people who show up to meetings, who, you know, the squeaky wheel gets the grease kind of mentality. It does have an effect. But if you could leave, I don't know if you have your email address or your contact information. From there.
Yeah, we,
But then maybe you could, if there's some group that could be formed to working with other people who have your same needs.
Yeah, I don't know who it, there's got, that's why
Well,
there's
there
gotta be other people,
are not the
but
only ones.
we don't get out that much, so it's each other.
Yeah. But in any case, yeah.
But also, if we can get people from, you know, the congressman's office or from Senator Hinchy's office to meet you, and then there's a face and they can think of the person, and then it drives more. Action, you know what I mean? I think that would be helpful, so let's try to put something in there. Let's give it a shot. Maybe start it off.
I'm free.
Oh. Well, my will do, yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Of course,
Yeah.
me too.
Do you have any other questions, Lily?
No, I mean, I think the above and beyond is covered.
Thank you so much, Lynn.
Thank
We'll
you.
stay on. I promise.
Yep, okay, I appreciate it, okay.
Thank you.
Are we going later? Do you want to?
I'll leave.
Okay. Gotta get out, cross those sidewalks before you go. It's all.
Yeah.
Bye. Thank you.
Guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Any other public comment?
so, yeah, any other public comments? Online?
Nobody.
Okay, so then let's jump into the business agenda. So business agenda item number one, this was on our last meeting's business agenda. So we're required to have a joint public hearing with the town of New Paltz regarding the annexation petition for New Paltz Apartments. And we were trying to find a date. There's been some challenges in terms of availability with the attorneys involved, including our attorney whose son was graduating college on the first date that was proposed, so we've been emailing with the town board, and it seems like we're now gonna shoot for June 5th. So I'd like to move that we go ahead and schedule a joint public hearing with the town on June 5th. I believe that that will work for them. They'll take action hopefully at their next meeting.
So we're shooting for that, it's not.
No, it looks like that's gonna work. I mean, that was the email we just got from the supervisor.
Yeah, I saw that, okay, thank you.
Okay, so you guys, somebody second, all in favor? And then, number 2 on this agenda has to do with a notice of violation that we're required by law to share publicly. So in 2021, we had the same issue, and I've learned a lot about this back in 2021 and then more recently. So with our new water treatment plant, it uses a different technology. It's a really fantastic technology. The membranes do a really exceptional job of removing turbidity and making sure that the finished water is of a certain quality. The challenge with the new filtration system is that it uses more chlorine than our old system. And then there's a chemical that gets added to make sure that the chlorine is removed. And you can end up with situations where when there's organic material mixed with the chemical to remove the chlorine, you end up with a problematic result. And the way our plant was designed is we have these lagoons that are basically like swimming pools in front of the water treatment plant. So when the water leaves the plant before it goes down through the conveyance system into our village, that's the finished water. And then there's the other water that gets recycled and it goes into the lagoon first. And our belief is that because of that process, when we're taking samples down in the conveyance system, because we take samples in 2 different places in the village of New Falls, one's at Night Market, and then the other is here in Village Hall, because we're required to test for a variety of different contaminants at different times. And then what's interesting about testing for any contaminant is you take 12-month averages. So for this contaminant, you're doing tests 4 times a year. So you can have situations where you're way below the acceptable level, and then 1 out of 4 times is way above the acceptable level, and it's supposed to be the average of 12 months. You know, this is a quarterly reading that's going on, and in 2021, the 12-month average went above the acceptable level, which was for this particular contaminant was 60 parts per billion. And it was just a hair above 60 parts per billion, but that's problematic because 60 is the ceiling. And then this happened again more recently. So we've taken a deeper dive to figure out what exactly is going on. And we believe that when the lagoon, that's basically the outdoor swimming pool that holds the material, that includes both sludge that gets carted away and then clear water that gets sent back into the plant to get reused, that if you're doing a sampling on the same day that we're doing a recanting of the water and sludge that's in the lagoon, your values can spike. So this is really good in that we've figured out what the pattern is. Because clearly we need to figure out a different way of managing the water in the lagoon. So, you know, we like to err on the side of being hyper transparent about like what's going on, why we think it's going on, and our plan is to address it. I think what's really interesting about some of this stuff too is like if you had operators and elected officials who wanted to not address this, you could easily do it because you simply would not do tests on the days that we're recycling the water. So here I am in public speaking about, you know, under no circumstances would we ever do anything like that. We have to come up with a proper solution. So we don't have any instances of these contaminants, but greater than the maximum level, even if we are using the recycled water. So our engineer has been looking at options on in terms of how to address that, but he just wanted to, have a very public conversation about what's going on. We creeped up above the acceptable standards a couple of times, and we have plans to fix it, but to make this widely known that it happened and widely known that we're working on fixing it. Any questions?
Get the first draft of what those options might be, or look it out.
No, I was playing phone tag with the
Okay.
engineer today to, get a better understanding of how it all works. I drafted like a letter in more accessible, human terms to explain what is going on.
Right.
That's a little bit more detailed and more nuanced than this notice of violation letter.
Sure,
So any other questions, or we can just move on to the next?
thank you.
The next item is 3, the amendment to the village code. So Mike, you want to?
Yeah. So this was the amendment that we proposed, what was it, about a month ago, 3 meetings ago. Went to the county planning board, went to the local planning board, they had no comments and both expressed support. So we had a public hearing, there were no comments. So I put together a package for you, it's the link to item number D. Or letter D, excuse me. So there's 3 resolutions I need for you tonight to wrap this up. The first would be to declare a negative declaration and to say that the application will not cause any negative impacts on the environment. So that will be the first. The second would be, if you're prepared to and want to adopt and I wrote a resolution for you for that. And then the third would be to establish what the fee will be for that action, and I'm gonna recommend it be $150, so.
And then that gets updated in our fee schedule if we go.
Yeah, and then, if you adopt it tonight, Nicole will file it with the state, and as soon as the state receives and accepts it, then it would go into effect immediately.
Okay. Thanks for your
Yeah,
work on this.
so-
Any questions from the board right now? I'm gonna move that we adopt a resolution regarding a secret determination, adopt a resolution regarding the fee that Mike has proposed, and also the third and final resolution to adopt the law.
Second.
All in favor?
Okay,
And then we'll jump into
the next one.
item 4.
So, through my conversations with Tom Olson, earlier this year, you were involved in them too, discovered that the design review board, which is tasked with certain responsibilities in the zoning code, had never been officially codified. I searched back, it was done by a resolution renaming the Historic Preservation Commission as the Design Review Board and Historic Preservation Commission. Especially with the potential dissolution, Tom and I talked and I did a little research and think it's probably better if we actually establish this board as an independent board. The members will still be, and the local law that I wrote will still be the same members as historic preservation, but they do 2 different roles. So I think having it as 2 separate boards probably makes the most sense. And by actually doing it in local law, you're establishing it in a more legal manner than just a simple resolution or motion. So with that, if the board, I didn't hear back from Will, I believe that this is a type 2 action. If you want to move forward tonight, well, first I should ask if anyone has any questions about what we wrote. And it's been vetted by the design review board and by Tom directly. What you're seeing is the 3rd version. There was just minor language tweaks that we made. So if you are comfortable with it, the first would be to declare the type 2 action under seeker. Then the second would be to set a public hearing I guess, for your next meeting, if you want to. And then the third is. It's a gray area whether it gets referred to the Ulster County Planning Board and the local planning board, but because it's a land use board review. I kind of like to err on the side of caution and say, yeah, we probably should refer, it. So. If you want to, if you adopt that motion to refer it, I will handle that of getting it to them. And that they meet on the. Actually, they meet on the first Wednesday of the month, so you would have answers back from them in theory before your next meeting.
Right, cause it's only.
Because you meet the second Wednesday.
Yeah, and we still have another Wednesday in April.
Yes.
Okay, I move that we make a secret determination as a type 2 action. I move that we set a public hearing for our next village board meeting, which would be the second meeting in May, and my motion.
Wednesday,
The second or the first meeting in May?
second Wednesday.
Second Wednesday.
Wednesday in May,
Sorry.
and which is our first meeting in May. And I move that what was, and I
Refer to the
refer
Ulster County and the local.
I think there's refers to both the village PB and the county planning board as a heads up.
Second.
Further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Thank you.
And then to also give you one more quick update, Tom and I are working on some changes in the language for historic preservation that came out of recommendations from the state, from SHPO. Just some language tweaks that there was some authority in there that they really don't have authority over, so. But he didn't get a chance to finish reviewing it, so when he does, I'll bring that to you for the next version. And I'm still coming down the home stretch, I'm working on updates to the zoning code. And I'll present it and you can tell me if you want to wait, or if you want to consider it, or if you want to do some of it and none of it, but I still think there's a few things in there we could tweak, so. I should have that, I'm hoping by June at the latest, maybe even in, so.
Okay. Thank you, Maya.
That's fine. Great work.
Yeah.
The next item is the RFP process for the CFA CDBG project that the village is applying for in July. I'm gonna propose that we complete the scoring sheet using the same methodology that we used for last year's scoring sheet when we reviewed Bernier and Larios's qualifications. And that's my motion. Anyone want to second it for discussion? Any further comments? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
And then the regatta parade application, so I believe that the town has approved a parade. We've reached out to our insurance carrier for Nightmare, and there's they're fine with the premium that we're currently paying. The parade will be covered, the regatta event will be covered.
Right.
I think it's interesting about this whole parade process that we seem to run into for various parades and not just the regatta. It's just like there's different staffing that gets involved, whether it's police as well as our village DPW. So it's always, this unfortunate, unnecessarily complicated process just to do things that we want to do. We should be more straightforward, but I guess that's the challenge of having two governmental boards in one community. Also, the comment that like, well, this is in the village, therefore it's a village event. I mean, the village is just part of the town, so it's a town event.
The neighborhood.
And then we also received feedback from our attorney and our treasurer who remembered that in the past that participants who are floating in the water with floats should be asked to complete a waiver. So our attorney reworked a waiver and that's included on this agenda that we should share. So I'm good as a village board going ahead and saying that the village will provide insurance for the event because it's being covered by our liability coverage through NYMER. We can also share this waiver and ask that the organizers use the waiver and get participants to sign. And then, you know, we never actually officially do this with parades because parades are approved by the town, but then there are village expenses that we don't ever weigh in on, but clearly they're being paid for by village taxpayers because that's who pays for the DPW, or they can, we can provide assistance. So it's not just as simple as, you know, 'cause it was explained to me by one of the organizers that they were gonna have volunteers provide the marshals. And I think it's a little bit more complicated than what they anticipated, because you do have the barriers and barricades, you know, barricades, and, you know, just making sure that, you know, the vehicles are not commingling with the parade participants. But you know, events like the regatta are really important for community character and community engagement, so
On time.
we've done it annually for many years, so I'm comfortable moving forward with all the above.
Second.
Any further discussion? Then we have a fire protection complex, that's where the Newcastle Fire Department provides fire protection townwide. So this is this year's updated contract. I move that we go ahead and share that with the town to get their approval.
Second.
All in favor? And then the solar project at the fire station, we've been working on this for some time, so it seems like I believe we discussed this at the last meeting, that because the station used a little bit more electricity in 2024, because the original RFP was only using a 2023 consumption number. So if we're really shooting for a net zero building, you could probably aim for something like 100 and something 119.
Yeah.
119,000 kilowatt hours per year. And, you know, adding additional arrays would get us there. It'll cost some more money, but we had enough money if we included the award from the county as well as NYSERDA. Therefore, we might have all the money that we expected to have if we're gonna do a ground mounted system up at the water. So I would like to propose that we go ahead and move forward with getting updated numbers from NYSERDA and Central Hudson. Mindful of the fact that we want to make the array a bit larger than initially anticipated. Then I'll second that motion.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. I move bills and claims.
Second.
All in favor? Any planning board liaison updates you want to share?
Yeah, there's a couple, Village Pizza decision has been approved, it's shorties, and I should, what I understand, will be open in June or so. Big discussion, public comment about Westview development, the 128 unit structure going up on the NBR. Lots of discussion about traffic and lighting and where's everybody going to park. So that's still being examined. There's a new application, well, there's sort of an application about what to do with Wells Fargo's basement space. The applicant is interested perhaps putting in a martial arts studio, but that's unclear at this point. And then sort of pre-application requests, and I thought we would have rid of these sorts of discussions, but Clemson Brewery is interested in perhaps building a 2-story, maybe 3-story structure, multi-structure coming back in the parking lot. So it was just sort of, you know, feeling out being planning board sort of input on that.
I did still even Clemson, like.
Good, Robert,
Yeah, but didn't they empty out? I thought they were out.
not to my knowledge.
This isn't gonna be part of that. The brewery, they wanna build, they wanna subdivide, create a 3-story with residential, second and third floor. And either a business or residential on the first floor to be determined.
So, in the parking lot, we're the parking.
In the back side, they have enough property that they can split it into 2 pieces.
Yeah,
Oh, so they would subdivide?
Yeah.
that's the thought. And then HBC reviewed, the meeting the other night, and they reviewed the Westview project and had some comments about, particularly looking at citing how those apartment, how the apartment building will look from the street, so I think there's a lot to be still discussed with that. HBC,
Which apartment?
Westview, the 147, 149, 15, keep it up. Yeah. It's a mouthful then.
Oh, the address is
Yes.
not the one.
To Westview,
Okay.
that's essentially it.
Any ZBA?
Trying to think what. No, they had a public hearing for the 16 Prospect Street, which is a sport court, basketball and soccer court that was
Yeah.
built without knowing that they needed a variance for it or a permit for it, so. Public hearing happened, a couple people spoke, but generally, people were supportive of it. And the ZBA went through it and authorized the attorney to write a decision for the May meeting.
Okay,
I think that was about it.
okay, so nothing new.
No.
I'm gonna move that, we go ahead and adjourn,
Seconds?
all in favor?
Aye.
Uh,